Welcome, and let's dive in. Okay, imagine this. You're standing right on the edge of everything you've worked for. The promised land, freedom, home.
It's right there, just across the river.
Exactly. The goal is so close. But then, a pretty significant part of your group turns to you and says, actually, we kind of like the land over here.
That's the tension, isn't it?
That's the high-stakes moment in Numbers chapter 32, specifically verses 28 through 42, and that's what we're unpacking today.
Right.
We've got this fascinating stack of material notes and excerpts you shared with us, highlighting how this negotiation, well, it wasn't just about geography.
No, not at all. It became this pivotal moment where a personal desire, morphed into a deep communal commitment for the whole nation, really.
Exactly. And our mission today is to pull out the most insightful nuggets from this material. We're talking faithfulness, keeping promises.
And what that actually means for a community's identity, all seen through the lens of this ancient story.
Okay, so let's set the scene first, based on the notes. The people of Israel are, literally on the border of Canaan, the land God promised them.
Right on the doorstep.
And the tribes of Reuben and Gad, and later, the half-tribe of Manasseh joins them. They look at this fertile land east of the Jordan, land they just conquered.
And they see it's perfect for their large herds, their families. It makes practical sense to them.
They wanted to settle there, but they couldn't just say see ya and leave the other tribes to fight for the main prize.
Oh, wait. They were part of something bigger. A shared journey, a shared divine promise. You can't just opt out.
Right. So they come up with a proposal, let them settle east of the Jordan, but, and this is the key part, they promise to send their armed men across the river with the other tribes.
To help conquer the land first. That's the condition.
Only after that whole mission was done successfully would they return to their chosen homes east of the Jordan.
And what's really striking, looking at the material you provided, is how Moses handles this whole thing. He doesn't just give a casual nod like, okay, sounds good. He elevates it. He brings in the key leaders.
Ah, okay, like who?
Eleazar the priest, Joshua, who's, set to take over leadership, and the heads of all the other tribal families, everyone who matters.
Okay, so this wasn't just some side conversation, not just a handshake deal.
Definitely not. The sources really hammer this home. This promise was deliberately made into a public covenant.
A public covenant? Wow.
Yeah, something the whole community of Israel heard, witnessed, and in a way became responsible for overseeing. It wasn't just Moses and a couple of tribes. It involved everyone.
That changes things significantly.
It really does. And the details of the deal itself, which are laid out so clearly in these verses, they just show how serious this was made. Moses speaks directly to Eleazar, Joshua, and the other leaders.
So he's giving them instructions about the deal.
Exactly. He spells it out. Verse 29, basically. If the men of Gad and Reuben, armed for battle, cross the Jordan with you, and if you subdue the land with their help.
If they follow through.
If they follow through on their promise, then, and only then, are you leaders to give them the land of Gilead as their possession, east of the Jordan.
Okay. But he also makes the consequences crystal clear, right? What if they don't cross over armed? What if they flake?
Well, the notes highlight that alternative. It's right there in verse 30. If they don't uphold their side of the bargain,
then what?
They forfeit their claim to that land east of the Jordan. They lose it. And they would have to take their inheritance with everyone else in the land of Canaan, west of the river.
Wow. So no special deal if they don't keep their word.
Precisely. It built in this really powerful mechanism for accountability, involving the entire leadership structure. No wiggle room.
So how do Reuben and Gad respond? These terms are laid out so publicly with such clear stakes.
Well, the text records their answer. Verses 31 and 32. And it's a strong affirmation, very clear.
What do they say?
They say, what the Lord has said to your servants, we will do. They basically repeat the commitment back. We will pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, and the possession of our inheritance shall remain with us beyond the Jordan. They double down.
So they explicitly agree, and they even bring before the Lord into it.
Yes, that phrase emphasizes the spiritual weight, the seriousness of their promise. It's a huge moment of commitment made publicly with those clear consequences attached.
Okay. And then we see the outcome, right? Starting in verse 33.
Yep. Because they made that commitment, because the agreement was formalized, Moses gives them the land east of the Jordan.
The land they want.
The land they wanted. The kingdoms of Sihon and Og, cities, territories, it's assigned to Gad, Reuben, and that half-tribe of Manasseh.
And once they receive the land, based on this very public agreement, They started settling it, building things.
Immediately, well, not immediately fighting, but setting things up. The text describes them building and fortifying cities. Gad and Reuben get busy.
Right, building fortified cities, folds for sheep. The text lists some specific places.
Bon, Adaroth, Auror, Beth Nimrah, Beth Haran. They're setting up shop, making enclosures for their livestock. And the sons of Mashir from Manasseh, they take Gilead.
And others too, right? Like Jerah and Noba.
Yeah. Individuals also carve out areas. Jerah captures villages, calls them Havoth Jer. Noba captures Kenath and its villages, renames it Noba after himself.
So they're actively establishing themselves, building, even renaming places.
Yes, but crucially, this happens after they've made and solidified that promise to join the fight with their brothers across the river.
Ah, that's the connection. They're getting this land, their ability to possess it, was directly tied to fulfilling their commitment to the wider community.
Exactly. They had to agree to delay their own immediate comfort, their settling down, for the sake of the shared mission first.
Okay, so that's the story. Moving beyond just the narrative, what does the analysis of these sources tell us? What are the deeper themes, like faithfulness, for us today?
Well, one really powerful thing that emerges is how promises made within a community, they're just. They're more than individual transactions. Reuben and Gad's agreement, it wasn't just their private business. By involving all the leaders, stating the terms publicly, it got woven into the very fabric of Israel's identity, their collective path forward.
So the actions of a few tribes impacted the whole group's story.
Absolutely. It highlights how individual faithfulness, or lack thereof, directly affects the character and the journey of the group you belong to. And it shows that communal responsibility, it isn't just assumed. It can be intentionally set up.
How?
Through shared understanding, public commitment.
Yeah.
Just like Moses did here, he formalized it.
Okay, that makes sense. What else stands out?
Another key point is just how serious commitments are treated here. And importantly, that they require accountability to actually be seen through.
Moses didn't just trust them, did he?
No, he didn't leave it to chance or good intentions. He put the agreement on the record. He had witnesses, the leaders. He stated the consequences up front. It was structured for follow-through.
That really raises a question for us, doesn't it?
It does. When we make promises, maybe to God, maybe to each other in our communities, do we approach them with that kind of seriousness?
Or are they just sort of momentary feelings, emotional highs?
Right. Are we building in the kind of structure, maybe through shared goals, mutual support, accountability partners, whatever it is, that helps ensure we actually follow through in the long run?
That's a challenging thought.
And ultimately, the sources suggest this whole event helped shape Israel's identity. They were becoming a people defined not just by their relationship with God, but by how they lived together.
How they're related to each other mattered.
Immensely. Keeping their word, supporting each other in the mission that was becoming part of their identity as God's people. It wasn't optional.
So, connecting this to today, the material seems to suggest our communities, church, teams, families, whatever.
They're also shaped by the integrity, the trust, the shared responsibility of the people in them. It's not just about what I believe in my head. It's how we live it out, visibly, together.
Yeah. The core message feels like faithfulness isn't just about me. It's fundamentally about us.
That sums it up well.
So, okay, bringing this down to earth, what does this story, these details mean for you listening right now?
Well, it really invites some reflection, doesn't it? Thinking about the promises we've made.
Like what kind of promises?
Maybe commitments made to God, perhaps in moments of worship or big decisions. Or promises made within your community in relationships, volunteering, service towards a shared goal.
Things we've said we'd do.
Exactly. And then the next question is, are you living out your faith, your commitments, in a way that actively strengthens and builds up the community around you?
Does my consistency, my follow-through, actually create trust? Does it encourage others in the group? Or does my inconsistency maybe undermine things?
It's about that ripple effect. This ancient deep dive reminds us that God often works really powerfully through communities where people live out their faith authentically together, holding each other accountable, supporting each other in those promises.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up then, we've seen how this very specific agreement between, well, initially two tribes,
Became a defining moment for the whole nation of Israel. It shaped their identity, highlighted this power of communal responsibility.
It shows us really vividly that promises made in community aren't just private deals. They get woven into the collective story, the character of the group.
Yeah, they become part of who you are together.
And it serves as this powerful reminder that accountability, both personal and shared, isn't some kind of burden. It's actually a key element.
It's essential for making sure commitments are honored, that visions actually get realized. It keeps things on track.
The material you shared even included a simple prayer that feels really appropriate here.
Yes. It was something like, God, help me to be faithful, not just in private, but in how I live with others. Let my life reflect the promises I've made to you and to my community.
That definitely leaves us with something significant to ponder.
It does. Think about this. The faithfulness of just a few tribes, fulfilling their promise to fight alongside the others, fundamentally impacted the identity and the success of an entire nation.
Okay.
So the question for you is, what does your personal commitment, your integrity, mean for the identity and the strength of the communities you belong to?
What impact do I have? Something to think about until our next deep dive.